एक कहावत है और उसके हिसाब से कि आपने कभी व्हील को दोबारा से रीइन्वेंट नहीं करना चाहिए। इसका क्या मतलब है? इसका ये मतलब है कि अगर कोई काम कहीं पर किसी ने कर दिया है तो वो काम को दोबारा से करने के बजाय उस काम का बेनिफिट हमको लेना चाहिए। एंड दिस इज़ हाउ यू क्रिएट मोर वैल्यू। Friends, I am very happy to share here that over the years I have uploaded about 900 videos on my YouTube channel covering different aspects like valuation, insolvency, financial management, finance for non-finance, and work-life balance, leadership, and general management. And I am so happy कि मुझे समय समय पर I keep receiving more requests from different people asking for covering more topics. Some time back, I had done a video on section 198, and after that I received many requests for covering the entire section, the entire managerial remuneration under section 196, 197 and schedule 5 of the Companies Act. And that is how in this series that I am going to do with you now, we are going to cover these two aspects. And what these two aspects are? These two aspects are the managerial remuneration as encompassed in section 196, 197 and in schedule 5 and also section 198. I am sure all of you are aware that section 198 has got its own significance. It has got its own significance from two angles. Number one, for the purpose of managerial remuneration, how much can a company pay maximum amount as managerial remuneration has to be determined based on the profit as calculated under section 198 of the Companies Act. Which means what? Which means computation of profit as per section 198 becomes a mandatory requirement for determining as to how much maximum remuneration can be paid by a company. Interestingly, the relevance of section 198 is not only for managerial remuneration, but relevance of section 198, computation of profit under section 198 is also relevant for the purpose of section 135, which is on how much is the minimum amount of profit a company is supposed to incur on the CSR activities. And therefore, what we are going to do as part of this series, we are going to divide this series in three parts. Number one, we start today with section 198. Then we cover section 196, 197 and schedule 5, and we cover it quite comprehensively. And then we come to section 135 about the CSR activities or CSR spending. I am sure you must be wondering as to why have we planned this session. We have planned this session, number one, because managerial remuneration is something which is relevant to every corporate, every company in this country. And therefore, it is absolutely necessary for we all chartered accountants, company secretaries, even cost accountants and lawyers to be absolutely familiar with the provisions of section 196, 197, schedule 5 and section 135 and also section 198. When I studied all these sections and based on my experience, I realized there are many gray areas. Now really speaking, those are not gray areas, but they appear to be gray areas. So I thought, why not to bring out another video where all these gray areas are converted into black areas so that people have no confusion and they are able to comply with the provisions of these provisions of the Companies Act. And that is the reason and the purpose behind bringing out this series of 3 sessions covering section 198, how to compute profit under section 198, and then covering managerial remuneration provisions, and then of course coming to section 135. So let's start with the section 198 एंड द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ मैनेजेरियल रेम्यूनरेशन। तो देखिए सीधी सी बात है कि जो मैनेजेरियल पर्सनल हैं ऑफ एनी कंपनी, दे अंडरटेक बिगर टास्क्स एंड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज़, हैंस दे नीड टू बी सूटेबली रिवॉर्डेड। तो जो लोग हैं, जो जो मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर हैं, होल टाइम डायरेक्टर हैं, या कंपनी के बोर्ड पे हैं और एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर हैं, तो ये लोगों की जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, ये लोगों के जो ऑब्लिगेशंस हैं दैट दे नीड टू परफॉर्म are really very challenging and very demanding, and therefore obviously they need to be suitably rewarded for the additional challenges and the responsibilities and the obligations that they undertake on their shoulders. So they need to be suitably rewarded for this. At the same time, अगर ये जो मैनेजरियल अपॉइंटमेंट है और मैनेजरियल रेम्यूनरेशन है, if a free hand is given to the promoters of a company, then there is a full risk of this free hand being misused by the promoters. Not all of them, but some of them can of course definitely do that. And again, so अगर आप फ्री हैंड ना दें ठीक है, और लेकिन अगर बहुत ज़्यादा रेस्ट्रिक्शन भी डाल दें, then also it's a problem. And what is the problem? The problem is if there are too many restrictions with regard to the managerial remuneration and the managerial appointment, then the problem will be that it would deprive many weak and struggling companies in order to get competent and capable managerial personnel. And that is the significance that we need to remember as far as the managerial remuneration is concerned. So what are we going to cover in this program? As I have mentioned to you, we are going to cover three things in this program: section 198, section 196, 197 and schedule 5, and then we would be covering section 135. So let us begin with calculation of profit as per section 198. तो देखो मैं यहाँ पर आपको बता दूँ कि प्रॉफिट एक ऐसी चीज़ है जिसके बारे में बहुत कन्फ्यूजन होता है लोगों के दिमाग में, क्योंकि प्रॉफिट कैन बी लुक्ड एट फ्रॉम द पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग, and within the financial reporting also, remember, profit can be understood in many ways. Profit can be understood as gross profit, it can be understood as EBITDA, it can be understood as EBIT or EBT or EAT. To top this confusion further, the Companies Act has a section 198 that makes it mandatory for a company to compute profit separately. Now, what is the meaning of computing profit separately as per section 198? It obviously means that the profit which is for the purpose of financial reporting and the profit that has to be calculated for the purpose of section 198 are completely different. So they are not same, and that is one thing that we need to remember, and that is one thing that we need to be very very clear about from the very beginning. कि क्या वो ये कि जो फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग के प्रॉफिट होते हैं उनको कंप्यूट करने का तरीका और सेक्शन 198 के लिए प्रॉफिट्स को कंप्यूट करने का जो तरीका है, जो स्टेप्स हैं, वो कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट हैं, और ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग हमारे दिमाग में बहुत बहुत क्लियर होना चाहिए। अब इसके लिए क्या समझना ज़रूरी है, तो मैं यहाँ पर आपको बता दूँ कि सेक्शन 198 की आवश्यकता क्यों पड़ी। Why is that there is a separate requirement to calculate profit as per section 198 in the Companies Act? And if we understand this logic, then I am sure we would be able to understand the entire discussion of all three sessions in a very systematic way. तो सेक्शन 198 का जो प्रॉफिट है उसकी ज़रूरत क्यों पड़ी, उसको प्रॉफिट को कंप्यूट करने की ज़रूरत इसलिए पड़ी कि मैनेजरियल रेम्यूनरेशन की जो लिमिट है, इट शुड बी लिंक्ड टू अ प्रॉफिट. विच प्रॉफिट? नॉट द प्रॉफिट विच इज एज रिपोर्टेड इन द प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस स्टेटमेंट ऑफ अ कंपनी. Their managerial remuneration has to be linked with the profit for which the managerial team can be directly credited. कहने का क्या मतलब है? कहने का मतलब ये है कि जो फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग का प्रॉफिट है और जो सेक्शन 198 का प्रॉफिट है, ये दोनों फिगर कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट हैं। ये दोनों फिगर कंप्लीटली क्यों डिफरेंट हैं? ये दोनों फिगर कंप्लीटली इसलिए डिफरेंट हैं क्योंकि जो फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग का जो प्रॉफिट है वो टोटल एक्सपेंसेस एंड एक्सपेंडिचर irrespective of what is the type of the expense or type of the income, irrespective of that, वो सारे फैक्टर्स को कंसिडर करके जो प्रॉफिट आता है, that is the profit as far as the financial reporting is concerned. Then what is the profit as per section 198? So the profit as per section 198 is computed based on the steps and the decisions that has been taken by the managerial team. So section 198 का जो profit है, you can say this is the profit for which the managerial team can be directly credited. क्या मतलब है इसका? इसका मतलब ये है कि सेक्शन 198 का जो प्रॉफिट है वो प्योरली ऑपरेशनल प्रॉफिट है। ऑपरेशनल प्रॉफिट का मतलब क्या है? ऑपरेशनल का प्रॉफिट का मतलब ये है कि उसमें अलग तरीके के जो प्रॉफिट हैं वो नहीं है। फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर एक कंपनी ने एक पीस ऑफ लैंड सेल किया और ये पीस ऑफ लैंड कंपनी के पास में 25-30 साल से था और इस लैंड को सेल करने में कंपनी ने 50 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट कमाया। अब आप मुझे बताइए कि ये जो 50 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट कंपनी ने कमाया ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ सेल ऑफ दिस पीस ऑफ लैंड, is there any contribution of the managerial team in earning this profit of 50 crores for the company? Answer is no. And if the answer is no, then should the managerial remuneration ceiling take into account this profit of 50 crores? And the answer is no. And why the answer is no? The answer is no because the managerial team has not contributed anything towards this profit of 50 crores, and therefore their ceiling will not be determined, including this profit also as part of the operations. I hope that makes it very, very clear to every one of you. I have given you one example of the sale of land. There can be many other provisions, many other activities, and that is what we are going to discuss as part of section 198, as part of the provisions of section 198. That's what we are going to discuss as to item by item, as to why a particular item of income has to be added or not to be added, how a particular item of an expense has to be deducted while computing profit as per section 198, or why a particular item of income, item of expense has not to be deducted while computing profit as per section 198. Now this is the broad understanding which I thought to share with you, and if this understanding is clear in the minds of everyone, I'm sure you will find that there are no gray areas as far as section 198 is concerned, as far as section 196, 197 or schedule 5 or schedule 135 are concerned. They are absolutely crystally clear. So to sum it up, why do we have section 198 in the Companies Act 2013? तो सवाल ये है कि भाई ये सेक्शन 198 कंपनीज एक्ट में क्यों है? ये सेक्शन 198 कंपनीज एक्ट में इसलिए है ताकि हिंदुस्तान में जितनी भी कंपनियां हैं वो सारी की सारी कंपनियां जब मैनेजरियल अपॉइंटमेंट और रेम्यूनरेशन के डिसीजंस लें, जब CSR एक्सपेंड के डिसीजंस लें, they should be, all of them should be calculating the profit in a standardized manner. It should not happen that different companies calculate profit for the purpose of managerial remuneration and for the purpose of section 135 in a different ways. And that is the reason as to why this section 198 is there in the Companies Act. And this would also ensure that there are no arbitrary computations when when the profit is being computed for the purpose of section 135 and for the purpose of section 197. So now the question is, which profits needs to be computed? I think I have explained to you already as to which profit needs to be computed. So our focus has to be number one, and some of the things I have already covered. So our focus is number one, meaning and significance of profit as per section 198 and rationale behind computation of such profit. I have already explained to you. Clarity about various provisions of section 198. तो section 198 में जो items हैं उनके बारे में हम लोग चर्चा करेंगे. Which profit needs to be computed? I think I have already clarified. For the purpose of section 197, for the purpose of section 135, the profit that needs to be computed is not the profit which is arrived at for the purpose of financial reporting. This profit that needs to be computed for under section 198 has to be the profit for which the managerial team can be directly credited, and that is what we have to do. We would also be discussing as we move forward, and I am sure this doubt must be coming in the minds of every one of you कि जब मैं section 198 के लिए profit calculate करने के लिए बैठा हूँ, so when I am trying to calculate profit as per section 198, where do I start from? Obviously I have to start from somewhere. Do I start with the earning after tax as per the financial reporting, or do I take the EBT, or do I take the EBIT, or do I take the EBITDA, or do I take the gross profit, or do I take the sales? Or do I start the calculation of profit as per section 198 without referring to any of these numbers? Now that is also what we are going to discuss as we come to the end of the session. Now, one term, those of you who are directly connected, those of you who are directly computing profit under section 198, or those of you who have to assist your companies or your clients in taking decisions about the managerial remuneration, you would have noticed that a term, absence or inadequacy of profit. Now this phrase keep appearing time and again in section 196 and also in schedule 5. So we have to be very clear about this phrase, absence or inadequacy of profit. क्यों? क्योंकि अगर हमारी क्लैरिटी, अगर हमें ये जो फ्रेज़ है एब्सेंस और इनएडिक्वेसी ऑफ प्रॉफिट, अगर हमारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग इसके बारे में क्लियर नहीं है, तो ऑब्वियसली इट वुड बी वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर अस टू फाइंड आउट एज टू विच प्रॉफिट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद दिस ओनली. ओके, सो लेट अस बिगिन विद अ गुड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ एब्सेंस और इनएडिक्वेसी ऑफ प्रॉफिट. तो पहली बात समझ के लीजिए कि जैसा कि मैंने कहा, here when we talk about the profit, the term profit refers here to the profit as per section 198, right? So जब हम बात करते हैं absence और inadequacy of profit, कौन सा profit? वो profit नहीं जो financial reporting में है. तो फिर कौन सा profit? वो profit जो कि section 198 के हिसाब से calculate किया जाना है. सो इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है कि देयर कैन बी टू सिचुएशंस एज रिगार्ड्स एब्सेंस और इनएडिक्वेसी ऑफ प्रॉफिट. व्हाट आर दोज टू सिचुएशंस? दोज टू सिचुएशंस आर, नंबर वन, देयर इज़ अ लॉस एज पर सेक्शन 198 कंप्यूटेशन. तो अगर आप आपकी कंपनी के लिए या आपके क्लाइंट के लिए प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं एज पर सेक्शन 198, क्या हो सकता है? दो चीज़ें हो सकती हैं. पहली बात तो ये कि आपने जो सेक्शन 198 के हिसाब से प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेट किया है, देयर इज़ नो प्रॉफिट, देयर इज़ अ लॉस ओनली. सो इट्स अ वेरी क्लियर मैटर, देयर इज़ नो एम्बिग्विटी अबाउट इट. सेक्शन 198 के हिसाब से आपने कंप्यूटेशन किया और बॉटम में जो आपको आया वो लॉस आया. सो दैट इज़ सिचुएशन नंबर वन, एंड दैट इज़ absence of profit. That means there are no profit at all. Then there is something called inadequacy of profit. तो inadequacy of profit का क्या मतलब है? So उसका मतलब ये है the amount of managerial remuneration proposed to be paid by the company exceeds the ceiling worked out based on the profit computed as per section 198. Meaning what? Meaning company has profits as per section 198, but the amount of managerial remuneration which the company is planning to pay to the managerial personnel of the company, that amount is far in excess of 11% of profit which are computed एज पर सेक्शन 198। तो अगर जो कंपनी के प्रॉफिट कंप्यूट हुए हैं उसका 11% जो फिगर है, अगर कंपनी मैनेजरियल रेम्यूनरेशन पे करना चाहती है वो कि इस फिगर जो कि इस फिगर से ज़्यादा है, दैट मीन्स दिस इज द सेकेंड सिचुएशन एंड विच मीन्स व्हाट, विच मीन्स दैट देयर इज ए इनएडिक्वेसी ऑफ प्रॉफिट, यानी कि कंपनी के पास में प्रॉफिट तो हैं लेकिन वो प्रॉफिट एडिक्वेट नहीं है corresponding to the amount of managerial remuneration that the company plans to pay to the shareholders. Now, please remember and be clear about it at this point in time, though I have mentioned it already, but for the sake of clarity, I would like to again mention, please remember which profit is to be calculated for the purpose of section 198. The profit that has to be calculated as per section 198 is not the profit for the purpose of financial reporting. It is the profit which can be directly credited to the efforts of the managerial team, and that is the profit that we have to calculate as per section 198. So section 198, really speaking, is a fantastic formula incorporated in the Companies Act 2013. Now, before we move forward, let me explain to you with the help of an example, with the help of an illustration, as to when is the situation where there is loss, there is no profit, or there is an absence of profit, and under which situation we would think that the profits are inadequate. So let me give you two illustrations. Number one, ABC लिमिटेड एक कंपनी है जो कि 22-23 के लिए एक्सपेक्ट कर रही है कि कंपनी 10 करोड़ का लॉस इनकर करेगी एज पर सेक्शन 198। क्लियर सा केस है, यानी कि 2022-23 के लिए कंपनी जब अपना प्रॉफिट प्लानिंग कर रही है तो उन्होंने साथ साथ सेक्शन 198 के हिसाब से भी प्रॉफिट को कैलकुलेट किया, और जब उन्होंने सेक्शन 198 के हिसाब से प्रॉफिट को कैलकुलेट किया, दैट फिगर इज कमिंग टू 10 करोड़ and it is not profit, it is loss. So this is situation number one where there is a absence of profit completely. Situation number two, XYZ Limited एक दूसरी कंपनी है जो कि for the year 22-23 company is expecting to earn a profit of 20 crores. Profit as per section 198. तो ये कंपनी है XYZ, and please remember all of us as professional, whether in employment or in practice, when we advise our company or when we have to advise our clients, this has to be done at the beginning of the financial year. So we have to ensure that the managerial remuneration which is paid to the managerial personnel is in line with the provisions of section 196, 197 and schedule 5 and also section 198. एंड उसके लिए हमको क्या करना ज़रूरी है, उसके लिए हमको ये करना ज़रूरी है कि हमको ये सारे कैलकुलेशंस साल के शुरू होने से पहले करने हैं। क्यों साल के पहले शुरू होने से पहले करने हैं? बिकॉज वी शुड नो एज टू हाउ द ईयर इज गोइंग टू स्पेन आउट, हाउ इज गोइंग टू बी द प्रॉफिट ऑफ द कंपनी एज पर सेक्शन 198 और हाउ आर गोइंग टू बी द लॉसेज ऑफ द कंपनी एज पर सेक्शन 198. Accordingly, we would need to decide as to how much managerial remuneration we should be able to pay to the managerial personnel. तो सेकंड सिचुएशन XYZ लिमिटेड कंपनी है और 22 और 23 जो साल है, जो फाइनेंशियल ईयर है, उसके लिए कंपनी जब कैलकुलेट करती है तो उनके सामने ये फिगर जो इमर्ज होता है एज पर सेक्शन 198, वो प्रॉफिट का फिगर इमर्ज होता है 20 करोड़. अब प्लीज़ रिमेंबर 20 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट है and as per section 197 the maximum managerial remuneration that a company can pay cannot be more than 11% of the profit computed as per section 198. इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है कि ये कंपनी for the year 22-23 the maximum amount of managerial remuneration that this company can pay can be 11% of 22 crore and that figure comes to 2.2 crore. But this company is planning to pay a managerial remuneration, let's say of 3 crore. So obviously now you have a second situation, and that is inadequacy of profit. Meaning what? Meaning कंपनी के पास में प्रॉफिट तो है, लेकिन और प्रॉफिट तो है एज पर सेक्शन 198, लेकिन ये जो प्रॉफिट है एज पर सेक्शन 198 वो एडिक्वेट नहीं है फॉर एम्पावरिंग द कंपनी, फॉर एनेबलिंग द कंपनी to pay a managerial remuneration of 3 crore. So the maximum managerial remuneration the company can pay is only 2.2 crore. So this is the second situation of inadequacy of profit. Now friends, I am sure a question must be coming in the minds of every one of you, and what that question is कि अब ये दोनों जो कंपनियां हैं ABC लिमिटेड और XYZ लिमिटेड, जिसका कि हमने अभी चर्चा करी, इन दोनों कंपनी ने क्या करना चाहिए? बिकॉज ABC लिमिटेड इज हैविंग नो प्रॉफिट, XYZ लिमिटेड इज हैविंग प्रॉफिट, बट दोज प्रॉफिट आर नॉट एडिक्वेट. सो व्हाट दीज कंपनीज शुड डू? नाउ दीज कंपनीज फ्रेंड्स विल हैव टू फॉलो द स्टेप्स as prescribed under schedule 5. That of course what will need to be done by these two companies. Or what company XYZ will have to do? The company XYZ will have to decide, all right, our profits are not adequate, the maximum remuneration that we can pay is 2.2 crore, and therefore the company will have to take a decision to restrict the amount of the managerial remuneration to 2.2 crore. But generally speaking, in practice that would never happen, because the managerial personnel would like to receive the managerial remuneration which has been agreed with them, and therefore the route that is available to them is to go for schedule 5. Right, so we have understood the rationale and the object and the about the section 198. Just to quickly sum it up so as to have a better clarity, and this I am doing purposely क्योंकि मुझे मालूम है ये सारे प्रोविजंस हैं, थोड़े ग्रे एरियाज़ हैं, थोड़े से कंफ्यूजिंग हैं, और चूँकि थोड़े से ग्रे एरियाज़ हैं, थोड़े से कंफ्यूजिंग हैं, तो उसके बारे में क्लैरिटी बनी रहे, उसके लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है कि मैं कुछ प्रोविजंस को आपके साथ में थोड़ा थोड़ा रिपीट करता रहूँ, तो उससे वो भी जो डिस्कशन किया है वो आपका रिफ्रेश होगा. So number one, what is supposed to be computed under section 198, and you can answer this question in your mind. Is it profit or net profit, or both of them have same meaning under section 198? ये मैं क्यों कह रहा हूँ? ये मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूँ क्योंकि जब आप सेक्शन 198 की हेडिंग देखेंगे और जब आप सेक्शन 198 का जो बॉडी है उसको पढ़ेंगे, तो आपको ध्यान में आएगा कि एक जगह पर इट इज़ सेइंग कंप्यूटेशन ऑफ प्रॉफिट और दूसरी जगह पर इट इज़ सेइंग कंप्यूटेशन ऑफ नेट प्रॉफिट. सो डज इट मीन that there are two different things? So let me tell you at this point in time, no, as far as section 198 is concerned, there is no ambiguity. When it says profit or when it says net profit, it means the same thing, and that is the profit that can be credited to the efforts of the managerial team. Yeah, okay. So what the company has to do? Company has to it is what the profit is. It is actually to arrive at the profit earned during the year from the business operations of the entity and exclude all non-operational items of expenses and income. So when I say non-operational items of income and expenses, what does it mean? It means all the items of income and expenses for which neither the managerial personnel team can be credited nor they can be debited, because there can be certain expenses. Those, and we will discuss those expenses with the help of example. For those expenses, the managerial team is not responsible. So if for certain expenses, if the managerial team is not responsible, then it would be unfair to deduct these expenses from the amount of profit while computing profit as per section 198, right? So that is what we need to remember, and let me repeat it once again. What are we doing in section 198? We are arriving at the profit earned during the year from the business operations of the entity and exclude all non-operational items of income and expenses, as these cannot be credited to the managerial personnel of the company for the purpose of computation of net profit as required under section 198. Now friends, with this understanding, let us come to the analysis of each subsection of computation of net profit under section 198. Now this portion, friends, I am going to cover with you in my next session. So please let me know your feedback. Let me know as to how did you find this session. Any suggestion, any ideas that you have, please absolutely feel free to write to me, and you can send me a mail which is pramod7jain@gmail.com, or you can send me a WhatsApp message which on my number 9766034562, or you can also put a comment when you are viewing this video on the YouTube channel. So you can also write to me out there, and I would certainly take note of whatever feedback or response that you would give to me. I hope you find this part of this series useful, and I would be very happy to hear from you. I would now, in the next episode, will be discussing each and every subsection of section 198, explaining as to why certain of the income are to be deducted while computing profit as per section 198, certain of the expenses are to be removed while computing section profit as per section 198, and every other aspect of section 198. So thank you so much, and enjoy viewing more videos of mine covering different aspects. Thank you so much. Thank you.